Uno, dos, tres.
Today I'm with Jacob Schott. Jacob is a talent manager at Talent Inc., the New York office, and you work with Arthur. He's one of my managers, and he's also a good friend of mine.
Yes.
Because of that, I'm going to let you jump in and tell me how you got into being a talent rep.
Well, Adam actually got me to where I am today, believe it or not. When I first moved to the city, I knew I wanted to work in the theatrical industry in some way. I was doing a lot of smaller jobs just to kind of pay rent. I was stage managing, which I never do and I should have not been allowed to do. That's how I met you at St. Luke's Theater, and you had mentioned that your manager needed some help at the office, and so I went in. Arthur and I hit it off right away. I started working for him right away as well, and now I'm going on year 4 with Talent Inc. And
Your fourth year.
Fourth year, yeah. I'm having a great time. I'm still learning so much, especially right now.
Right.
But I am really enjoying it. I do
Now,
enjoy
I know you brought, one of the things that changed about Talent Inc. when you came on was handling more theater actors. Like they had worked with theater actors, they had Broadway actors and things, but you kind of expanded that pool. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I think I'd also started going to more theatrical showcases that we weren't exactly going to. And maybe it was because, the company may not have known all of them, but just since I knew so much more about like the theater world, we got to kind of collaborate together and expand the company in a great way because we ended up having, 4 clients on Broadway at one point, which was fantastic.
For those who don't know, can you explain what a theatrical showcase is?
Yeah, of course. So a lot of different acting coaches or different schools will put on these different programs. You can sign up to take their class, and then at the end of the class, they will have a showcase where the person who is hosting the classes will invite agency, representation, management, casting directors, any connections that they have so that they can have an audience for you actors. And then after that, we get all your information. And after we've watched your showcase of all you can do, then if we like you, we kind of talk and move on together. And
Yeah, if you're going to any legitimate or big acting program, whether it's at like a college or if it's a conservatory, they're all going to, you're all working towards this opportunity to showcase.
to showcase your work to representation.
Yeah, and you typically get, so like when I was showcasing, like it was mostly reps that worked in theater, like that was their specialty. Not a lot of, like way less people who sort of work across the board in all industries.
Well, I actually now, not recently, but I had been seeing a lot of like even modeling agents show up because, everyone's could be something, right?
So that's a real thing. Like, talent, agents and managers are out there actively looking for talent.
It also is all who you know, right? If the school that you are involved with, I mean, who knows what alumni came from that school as well. You may have some really big agents or casting directors that are invited as well.
This reminds me of like something that Lucas was talking about 2 weeks ago. He was talking about how he had a business coach, and the business coach, had him do a series of, mailings, a series of emails, introductions, and then she was like, "You have to call this agency." And so he called, and they were like, "Oh, we've been trying to reach you." So there's something about like this idea of it's okay to interact with agents and managers and casting directors. Like, I mean, you don't want to be obnoxious.
Right.
You don't want to be like,
right.
You don't want to stalk anybody. But you are allowed to talk to them. They are, after all, they're just people. They watch television. They like television.
That's why they're in the business, right?
Yeah.
I think that going back to a great point of how we are all just people at the end of the day. I know that when I, as a manager, have to speak to casting directors, very often I tread lightly because I want to make sure that they're happy. So I always respond as quickly as possible. I want to be nice and prompt with them so that if they ever need something, they know who to call. But I also have to remind myself a lot too that don't stress out so much about this email. It's just a person too.
Well, I mean, it's like any other business, especially if you're in a buyer-seller relationship, and it's a little bit like that, not to make it too clinical. But, as you get to know, as you deliver, right? So casting director gets back to you, you get back right away. They know that they can reach out to you and you're going to respond in a timely manner. It like ups your professional Like
I would say too, and you know, as you start to meet them in person, and you know, you start to put face with the name, you have that reputation with you, and your reputation does follow you in this industry, and it's very important to not over stress about it, but to keep that in mind, and also just use common sense as much as possible in this industry. Something that I think is forgotten a lot in our industry is to just use common sense. Oftentimes, and this is nobody's fault, but I feel like we overthink everything with this profession, and we just got to think sometimes.
That's the overall theme of this entire show.
Yeah.
You know, from the first episode was that what I've discovered, you know, with COVID, I think I talked about this before, is that I've discovered that I can't worry too much about what other people think, even though this is a business of judgment. People are judging you. I just think that you end up hurting your cause if you're focused on what they think of you.
When you're taking it personal, not professionally.
Yeah, when you're not putting your art first.
Right.
I mean, I feel like I said it before. That's what they want. They want to see the artist, and so I think that you have to put your art first in terms of what it is you're going to do. And I just think you can be, like, I guess, polite.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, be on time, be polite.
Absolutely.
And as you get to know people, you'll develop more interpersonal
More connections. Yeah. Also, and to just listen. Best thing to do on set is just to be quiet and listen. Actually, you have a wonderful story about the assistant director that put you off, and he told you to go too early, right?
Oh my God! Yeah. So I was on a show.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was on a show, and my scene was with the lead of the show, lead actor, and I needed to enter at a certain point, but it was a long distance, so there wasn't a director yelling action to me. It was a PA on a walkie that was speaking to the first AD, who was telling me when to go, and so the PA would say, "And go." And I would go in full intention of doing my scene and go. And it was like a page and a half early. And, you know, the lead actor threw him off and he was upset. You know, he's like, "You're early." And I was like, okay, you know, not my... It didn't just happen once. It happened 3 times. 2 more times they sent me in that way. And, you know, it got to the actor that, you know, they were sending him in early. He's in a blind situation, so he's coming to do his scene, and that's what happened.
But you listened, and even though it was incorrect, it wasn't your fault. And then eventually it all got on, and
the director and me and the director had a nice chat, and I got along with everybody there, and it was ultimately ended up being a pretty good.
And he probably didn't forget you after that.
I hope that he did forget me. You'll get that. It's going to be times on set where, especially if you're dealing with the leads, you'll notice that they have a very different attitude about the process. But you have to think of it this way. They're there every day, all day, very long hours. So they have just a whole different viewpoint of it. I think they still get your viewpoint.
Yeah.
I haven't had anybody be nasty to me on set.
Most of them have been in, you know, everyone's shoes too. So the leads have all, you know, played all the size roles before, so I hope that they will keep that in consideration when someone walks on stage too early.
Yeah, I think that for the most part they all get that. They know that. Plus, they do that every day too. They're dealing with other, they're dealing with people who it may be their first job or they're just there for the day. Mm-hmm. They're constantly working with actors and that are just there for that one day or there for that week, and for the most part they're pretty courteous. I mean, there's a little bit of clickiness on set, but. That's going on whether you're there or not. So as long as you're aware that that's going to happen, whether you're there or not, and just go with it, and just be respectful. You want to be careful about any jokes you tell. You want to feel out the situation, and I mean the common sense, right? Yeah. Just feel your way through it. Mm-hmm. It's always okay to ask questions.
Of course. Oh my gosh, and they will thank you for it, because then when you mess up and you didn't ask, well then you look a little stupid, and you probably won't get hired again.
Yeah, I think that's something that I want to talk about at some point with some other actors, like what to expect on your first day, your first time being on set as a principal, right? I don't know. I don't do background work, so I don't know what that's like, but I imagine it's the same. You're kind of going in a little bit blind, and so you're going to have to ask questions. And I think at some point I'm going to talk about that more. So stay tuned. We will do an episode on what it's like to on your first day on set.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking earlier about, you go to showcases. So let's say of all the people that you end up signing, right,
Mm-hmm.
that you bring in, are they mostly people that you found through scouting, or are they mostly people who came to you, like just sort of flooded you in, or are they like, is it a combination?
It's I would say a good combination, but leaning more towards it's been either connections I've made with actors. I've either like seen them in shows, worked on a show with them in the past, and we've touched base again. Little different ways, very New York moments. But I think most of the clients that I have now, I know. We have a smaller roster. We like to keep it that way, so we know everyone personally, and I think a majority of them I've met, through the industry.
Yeah, that probably also helps you to be more efficient, right? If you have a small roster, you can, when you see roles, you can match people to the roles quicker.
And I know when it is okay and when it isn't okay to push for actors, right? I've seen you in this, and this, and if I see a breakdown that I know you could do it, but Cassie might not know that, well, then of course I'm going to send him over because I already know, I've seen you in your 12 productions of whatever it is.
Right.
And also, it opens up the conversation for what you're looking for. As a manager, I hope to be the person that you can sit down with a glass of wine and be like, here's what I want my trajectory to be. And so great, let's work on that together. And I love having a smaller pocket of clients so that I can have that and know all their middle names.
So do you and Arthur work all the clients like together, or are there some that he sort of handles and you sort of handle?
We share all of our clients.
Right.
We do that together in case for some reason I'm not available. He knows exactly what's going on with them. So we feel like we won't miss a beat because there's two cooks in the kitchen essentially, always making sure all of our T's are crossed.
Let me ask you this: do your friends ever ask you to rep them? Because I know we have some mutual friends who are actors who don't have representation. Have they ever like?
Yes and no. That's hard to say. It can be most of the time it's a non-spoken kind of a thing. They'll find out what I do, and then they, being an actor, will be like, oh. And then we kind of just look at each other for a bit, and I'm like, how can we get away from this conversation? Because I don't mind repping my friends at all by any means. But it also, I don't know, I'm still learning how to figure that one out, to be honest with you.
I would if we were friends and I found out and then you got the job as manager, I would definitely hit you up and say, man, I need representation. Help me out.
Well, and then I think that what I feel from, and I will say this, it's never my close friends. They're always friends that I've, been in passing with, acquaintances, who I won't hear from a long time. It's usually those that I'll get the random Facebook message of, I know it's been 6 years, but my agent dropped me. What do I do? Happy to help. Let's talk about it. And let's make sure all your stuff's all up to par, but I can't always help. Right. And unfortunately that's just the way it is. But
it's because they don't fit into your roster, or because
I'll either already have, with having a smaller roster, we try to only have, one of each type, right? Agencies, we'll have 6 Adams, right? Which is fine, but then they'll blast you out. At least for us at Talent Inc., we only want to have one person that fits your type,
right?
Because then we can focus on getting you those type of roles. And not that we're, we have everybody by any means on our roster, but it's pretty full. And I guess the friends that have asked me in the past have not. I didn't need their type at the time.
Oh, okay. I've always wondered that if there was ever any conflict.
I wouldn't say conflict. I think I'm so cautious. I always want to avoid conflict, which is why I'm so trepid now, because I'm I don't ever want to, be in that position of when it gets awkward.
Well, you're a really nice and caring person. I know that from just being friends with you over the years. I can't believe we've known each other this long now.
Yeah, I think since
it's been a long time now. Yeah. The years are just flying by.
Oh yeah. And it feels like a different lifetime when we first met. And we've worked together. I've worked for you.
I've seen you fake it. I've seen you fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I've seen you do that. Yeah, because I think one of the things I wanted to get into now is that you're a producer as well. Mm-hmm. That's crazy, right? That's where you've kind of hit the ground running. You were really you produced some stuff. You produced a John Patrick Shanley play.
Yeah, and he came to it, and I didn't even invite him. I didn't think he'd come, so I didn't, but he showed up. And so did the original Roberta, who played Roberta in Dan the Deep Blue Sea. I started working with a theater company when I first moved here, and I got to kind of produce on the side, and then I really fell in love with it, and I started doing that more and more while I became a talent manager. And not that the two go hand in hand, but I just love that other side of the industry of coordinating, making sure things fit and work, and I get to have a hand in, getting you a career and helping you make art, and from both points of view as a manager and a producer. But yeah, I did produce Dana the Deep Blue Sea off-Broadway at the Davenport. And then this last summer, I was actually supposed to produce my very first off-Broadway show at Cherry Lane, full equity and everything. It's a show called Starcrossed by Rachel Garnett. But we're just kind of kicking the can down the road until it's time again. But
did I see like publicity for that? Was it? Did it play somewhere else?
Well, we started it at New York City Fringe, and then we took it to DC for a theater festival that was going on there, and then we were going to transfer it to New York. But yeah, we did. We had all kinds of press for DC.
So do you think that maybe so is this the career line you want to go down, like being like a talent manager and a producer?
I have been trying to figure.
I would love that, by the way.
I'm really enjoying it. That's the problem. I know so many people, and there is no wrong answer, right? Do whatever you want to do. But I have been fortunate enough to not. I feel like my energy has always been equal to both. I don't feel like one takes more away from me or one takes time away from the other. They both work so well together. Also, when you're producing a show, right, the show's at night. Well, great, because I got to work all day anyway. So it always kind of works out. I can't wait till we can really start producing theater again, because I got some ideas.
Well, I'm getting back into my theater side. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we get to work together. So that's all good.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the tone between you and casting, but I think we kind of went over that. How busy is it now?
Actually, I really feel like, it's a lot of hurry up and wait right now. The breakdowns, especially these last 2 weeks, there's been a lot of these streaming sites. I just dump them in. But then, weeks will go by until we'll hear back, which, in the old days, it was always varied. Sometimes it was right away. Sometimes the project was moving right along. Right now, it'll be like, hey, we have some interest. They don't really call it a pin anymore, because it's kind of just like, it'd be great if he's available, but I don't know when we're going to be able to shoot again. But then, as that happened last week, some people were like, is he available, on Tuesday? Because this is our window. This is all we have. So I feel like the theme is mostly hurry up and wait. But on my end, I've been pretty busy.
I've noticed on the stuff that I've been having to audition for self-tape, that the outside dates are all over the place. Some will be like, the outside dates are like in a week and a half or 2 weeks. And another show, it'll be like in March.
And sometimes the range is always, pretty broad, but sometimes it'll go over like the span of 3-4 months.
Yeah.
For a co-star role, which I don't think you need them that whole time. So you guys have no idea what's going on, which I get, but.
Well, the entire city and the feel of the industry could be different by March.
Absolutely.
I mean, things are changing quickly, right?
Look where it is now versus 3 months ago. Yeah.
But there's a lot of opportunity out there.
I feel that. Well, I feel that it's getting more and more. I think people are the industry is waking up in a way that they're making it work. And I think they're all kind of catching on to how that does work and what is working. So I think it will take off again. I'm very curious to see. When theater auditions start again, what that will be like, because everything that I've only seen has really only been TV and film. Every now and then cruise lines think that they're going to reopen, but
we have a friend, who will go back on the cruise ships, soon. But it was like he was supposed to go back 2 months ago, and then they were keep pushing it, so he's just in standby mode until he gets that really great job, and that is a good job. I wanted to speak about that, especially for young actors, I think it would be tough if you had a family, if you had a wife and
Absolutely.
kids.
They're 6 months contracts where you're, in the middle of the ocean and it's hard. I mean, a lot of those contracts, you're sharing a small cabin underneath the ship with another actor, but you're making a lot of money because you don't have to spend any money. Your food's provided. All inclusive. Yeah. So when you walk off the boat, you got a nice little savings account. But also more than that is most of the time those contracts you're learning 6 shows. You get some great experience. You're going to get some great stuff in your repertoire, and you're going to meet a lot of people too.
There's a lot of casting directors that are seeking out those performers because they know that they're dedicated, they're reliable,
and they're extremely talented. You're tap dancing on a moving boat. That's incredible.
Well, our friend actually got great. gentleman we know who does that. He had like an officer's room, and he was by himself.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, he
Good.
had a nice like stateroom, and he did say that he was lucky, but I think it was maybe because he's a little older.
Maybe.
And they were like, okay, a little older. Let's keep him healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
They probably do think like that though.
Yeah, that and I wonder too if it just depends on cruise line. Maybe they're all they're all built a little bit different.
So I asked Arthur this, and he kind of said he hoped so. But I wanted to ask you, do you think that casting directors are going to want to continue to work at home? Like, if I was a casting director and I was working in this environment, I think that just having the actors send me the tapes might be really efficient.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in a self-tape world. I think that it's opened up so much more because, I mean, you can make more auditions now, right? I mean, I don't know how often this happened, but, to clients who are like, I have an audition that day, and then I'm expected to go do another one 3 hours later. I mean, as a performer, I can only imagine that. I mean, that's, it's a lot to do, not just because you have to memorize lines, but that's a lot of energy you have to, that's a lot that you have to do. So being those self-tapes, I hope that it gives the actors these more freedom, but that's not the question, sorry. I do think that...
That's good. That's a good answer though, because it does. Like, for example, Lorna, she has a, day job, and a self-tape would make it a lot easier because you don't have to ask off work. You don't have to, it's always easy to ask off work because you're going to go do a job. It's a little hard I've got to run to, they just don't understand as much.
And I think that
the employers.
The challenge still lies with, you can't beat an in-person audition because you automatically get to know the person a little bit better. You physically get to see them. And there's so much you can tell about people when they walk into a room, right? But I have been surprised at how well actors are adapting to showing a great amount of personality just in their slate, which I would love to talk a little bit about.
Ooh, great. Because I've always wondered about that. And I've been creeping a little bit, like trying to be more personable in my slate.
Right. I don't think there's a correct answer yet. I think, as we were saying, obviously your personality is everything, but I would do that within reason. Casting's not going to watch the entire self-tape anyway, unfortunately. They're probably just going to watch a couple seconds because there's another 700 of you who are going out for that same role. Plus, since we are self-taping now, I'm sure they have more windows, more time slots so that they can see more actors now for that role. But don't waste their time. In that first bit of your slate, that's what the answer I'm trying to figure out to this day. But it's all about in the slate showing your personality specifically, and then just doing the lines, because you only get so much time with them that they're gonna watch. Don't waste it. When you do like really dramatic openings and like, look at me, this is my stuff. I mean, they're probably gonna skip right over you because you're immediately wasting people's time. But that goes back to, I think, the common sense. There's so much that you can do by saying, hi, my name is, I'm this tall and I live here, with a couple smiles and some nice eyes. I mean, I think that you can show enough of yourself that way, and it's clean, it's professional.
That's what I'm sort of, with the people that come to me for self-tapes, that's sort of the direction I'm pushing them. I don't think you don't need to do a shtick. And you're not trying to sell yourself during the slate, but it used to be a different sort of a thing. There was this idea, that your self-tape was like it is when you actually go into the casting room, where it's sort of like, I'm Adam Smith, I'm 6'1", like it was that. And now I think that let's add a little bit more personality. For me, I like to be friendlier.
Yeah. Well, and also like you no longer have the excuse to like have nerves, right? You're in your own home making, of course you can be nervous, but you're not in front of them directly now. So that is, I think, a bonus to actors. You can retape 100 times in your apartment, right? But it needs to be good then, because you've had all that time.
I wanted to ask you about your opinion on headshots, because one of the things that we say at Adam Smith Headshots to our clients and to prospective clients is that the days are over where you just have one perfect shot. Because it's digital now. You need to have different looks for your agent to submit. Go ahead and give me, what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many more breakdowns now than there used to be, and they are very specific in there. They ask for, looking for a male in his 40s who looks like he's had a rough life, but white collar and lives in Brooklyn. Okay. What does that look like? So you go through your roster. What fits that? Which one of my clients can do that? But more importantly, how can I show casting that too? So your overall one headshot can't express all of those emotions. And I think the emotions is key. And I say that lightly, but expressing, you got to think about the breakdowns, right? What comes in? Think about what emotions those breakdowns are describing. You know, so actors, what have you been called in for, and what has that breakdown said? Well, obviously, you must have had a headshot that worked at that time. You know, Adam, you're a great example. You have business looks. You have looks where you've got scruffy and you look
crazy.
Yeah, you know, the blue collar look. We have just, you know, a casual white t-shirt look. We have lots of different looks that show different emotions that you have, but subtly. And you know, you some of them you look angry, and some of them you're so happy. You know, it's like, it's as simple as that, but also capturing it in a way. I guess when I said emotions, I didn't want you to think like, oh, make an angry face.
Right.
Subtlety is great, because that angry face can be used as your bad boy look, as your you know, oh, he was a bully, and you know, it goes beyond that. But I think it's think to the specifics of the breakdowns that you've already got, and you can look into it and be like, well, how can my headshots reflect that? Also, if you already have representation, please talk to them about it before you get headshots. Not that we have all of the answers, but we are the ones using your headshots every day, all day. So we have a good idea of, you know, what is and isn't working. And since we do have this great, you know, digital world that we live in, you can have 7 or 8 on your actor access profile. You know, you don't need to have 30 of them, but a good variety on there is great. And then sometimes if you want to get a little specific, if you know you go out for doctor roles a lot, well, if you just have like a scrub, you know, maybe that's just that one shot, but you know that your agent is submitting you for a doctor all the time. Well, great. He's going to use that picture a lot.
There's something that I learned from Peter Hurley that I really took to heart when it comes to taking headshots. And it's a phrase that he made up, I guess, which is lookability. And there's different photographic ways that we can aim to keep somebody's eye on your image longer. So there's like, sometimes there's little style things you can do with a headshot to keep somebody's eye on it a little longer. But with that one setup thing, we can get all kinds of different emotions.
Right.
So that's why we move fast, right? I'm changing the background constantly. I don't care how many outfits you bring. We're going to change those constantly.
Right.
That way we get different flavors, right? So all of that to say that, like, the little things, like the color of your shirt in relation to your eyes can make your photo more have more lookability.
Yeah. Or I mean, yeah, doing it correctly, because if not, then I'm only gonna look at your shirt the whole time, maybe.
Right.
Or and I think also, it's so easy to Google headshot photographers near me and, you know, pay way too much money, but you really do want to feel comfortable with the person taking your shots, because you want them to be honest with you. You want them to be like, you're doing this weird eye thing when you smile. That's me, for example. This eye always closes when I smile. Adam told me that when I was taking headshots. No one's ever told me that before. So but that's so great, because that's something I always am cautious of now. So, make sure that you feel comfortable with your headshot photographer too.
It's a team effort.
Yeah.
That's really what's happening, is that I can only take as good a picture as what you put in front of me is what I can take.
Yeah.
And so my job as a headshot photographer is to lead you, to guide you. So I think that, I always say, and this doesn't even happen very often, but ask to have a phone consultation and just feel them out.
Yeah.
And almost no one asks for that. And I don't.
But you would do that.
Oh yeah, all day long. Because it's not like I'm the only headshot photographer in New York, right? It's extremely competitive, and the problem with our business is that most clients usually can't tell the difference between a high-end headshot and a mediocre headshot. Their eyes just not trained to do that. But a casting director can tell, and an agent can tell. Like, if you really want to here's my advice: look at as many headshots as you can. Take your time and look at a lot of different headshots, and over time, you will develop an eye for, this is way cleaner, and this is way better, and the color is more balanced, and it's not.
The lighting itself, I feel that sometimes I see headshots and I'm like, if this was just like brighter, this would be a great headshot. But that's something so easy to do, right?
You'd be surprised. Like they'll have half their face in shadow. Like it'll be just cut across it, and you could tell too. That's why I don't do any unless it's for like modeling or something. I don't do any outdoor photography, because that's sort of what you see. Yeah. With the buddy with a camera,
which I feel like was also very popular for a while.
It was
the
everything.
Outdoor headshot. But yeah, it's, we're trying to control as much as we can with that shot. Best way to do that is indoors, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there's so Jordan Matter, for example, does amazing work outdoors, and because he's lighting it a little with natural light, but he's lighting it real purposefully. And I have a lot of shots that I've taken outdoors, but I'm lighting the person. I'm bringing gear, and I'm either using a flash or some other light source to get a proper exposure of their face separate from the background. That's a lot of photography talk, but I tend to prefer now looking at things that I know were shot in a studio. It looks cleaner to me.
Cleaner. It's simpler. I don't need to see the trees behind you.
And trees I'm just off trees. Like if you have trees in your background, like I say, change it right away.
And can I just make a quick little speaking of background, if you ever do a self-tape, please always do it against a blank something, because even to this day I go get some submissions from other actors, and it'll like their dogs running around the backyard, and I can see out and because they're just sitting in their backyard. Well, what am I going to watch for the next minute and 30 seconds? Right. What that dog's going to do. but I mean, you just need to common sense think about things like that, because everyone's got a wall, right? You can figure that out.
What about audio?
Audio is very important, but I will say this right now, in general, casting is being a little bit more forgiving because people are doing everything at home right now. Not all of us can afford to hire people. We're trying to do things on our cell phones, which is totally fine. Eddie Remnin was hired for Les Mis off a self-tape that he did on his phone. So people are being forgiving right now, but I mean, you want it to sound fantastic, right? You want everything to be the best that you can. You really need a quiet background. You need a quiet space. I've told clients before, I'm like, turn your light on in your closet, shut the door, we'll take it. Because it's silent, and then I can just hear the actor act. I can hear and see their personality. There's no distractions whatsoever. And in the first couple seconds, I'm hooked. Yeah.
I think that one of the things that we try to do with our self-tape clients, or what we feel the value we bring, is having a little bit superior sound quality by getting the mics close to them and hiding them in the shot.
Well, your slate shots are really great at that too. Yeah. I can always tell when you shot one because you hear everyone loud and clear on their slate shots.
Yeah, we try to. I mean, look, if we're going to charge money for it, even if it's only $50 for a slate shot, or not for a self-tape session, we want it to be good because we want you to book the role, and we want you to come back every time you're up for a role.
And hopefully, you just keep getting those auditions so you can keep coming back.
Any more advice for the actors out there? What we'll put your information so people can follow you online.
I mean, right now it's tough, obviously, and we don't, have to reflect on that so much. But if you still want to do this after all this, then you're in the right place, and I applaud you for that. I say one more time, just common sense. It's not as complicated or as big as we like to think sometimes. And sometimes if we put ourselves in casting shoes or behind their desk, we'll realize as well, we're all people.
If you have any questions for Jacob, go ahead and leave us some questions in the comment. Please subscribe to the channel. We're going to try to keep putting videos out there with professionals. If you have any recommendations on people you'd like to see on Actress Talk, please let us know. Jacob, thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
1, 2, 3